let's continue with the FH Aachen. Let's assume the FH Aachen and the Department of Business is analyzing the weblog of the web server. What kind of information can be achieved? What kind of information cannot be achieved? In the lecture and in the slides, there is a table where you can see that which information actually is stored by each web server once somebody is requesting a web page, a picture, etc. So it's important to understand that if you go with your browser onto a web page, you request a web page from the web server, that at the same point in time, the web server records there has been this GET request. And it's not only the fact that a certain page has been requested, but in addition, it stores the time, if the whole thing has been successful, where does the requester comes from. For example, does it come from Google search or has he clicked on an ad, and some more information. But based on this information, what kind of information can be derived? First, the IP address is stored as well. And based on this IP address, we can get some information at least. First, the IP address can be assigned to a region, so we can find out from where most people are getting to our web page. Then, the IP address is not always the same. So if you move with your laptop, for example, from home into the bus, from the bus later to the university, you always get a new IP address assigned to your computer. So it's not 100% clear who is behind an IP address, but while you're surfing, and while you, for example, surfing from the FH Aachen, the IP address is always the same. So we call it a session. So if you go if you request several web pages in one of these sessions, let's say you surf on the FH Aachen web pages for 5 minutes and request 10-20 pages, then all these web pages can be assigned to the same IP address. And at least this gives us some information. Where do you go? On which page do you stay longer? Which pages do you meet? Which pages do you do not request? Maybe we would like you to go to a certain place, but you don't go. So we can follow up. Where do you take another alternative route? We can see on which page you are starting first. We can see on which page you are dropping out and maybe not asking for more information as we would like you to do. So we can very well observe what you are doing on the web server, at least in one given session. There is more things what we can see. For example, we can see which kind of device you are getting onto us. For example, is it a smartphone or a laptop? Is the laptop a Windows-based laptop or an MacBook? From this we can derive something maybe. We can see when are people going into our web page. So is it in the morning? Is it in the afternoon? Based on that, we can check if the capacities for our servers are good and sufficient at this point in time. So there is quite some information we can derive. However, there is other information we cannot get from these For example, we do not get the name of the person. We simply have an IP address, but if it is Peter or Mary, we don't know. We don't know why what are you really interested in. We can just guess based on the figures we get. We cannot talk to you. So there is some information we can achieve, some information we can derive based on this data, but there's others we can't. So this would be answer for the first question. Now, what would happen if we install cookies? What kind of information can be achieved using cookies in addition to the ones we've got before? Again, let's come back to the IP address. As already argued, the IP address is the same during one session, but if, for example, you're surfing our university web pages during the morning, you then skip it and continue surfing on our web pages in the evening from home. Then you will have a different IP address, and what we will find out is only there have been 2 sessions, but we do not know if it's the same person or if it is different persons. Having cookies, the situation changes. So what do the cookies do? Cookies are something like an ID, an identification. So if you're the first time getting on a web server, it usually sends back, together with the web page you have requested, a cookie. And this cookie is installed or stored on your computer. And if you once in a while go back to this server, your browser check, do I have a cookie for this server? And if yes, he on top of the request adds this cookie. So this is a request cookie then. Now the server sees, hey, there's a cookie, and by that he can now identify you as a person, not by name, but by your identification number stored in the cookie. So this helps us to see if there are certain sessions with the same cookie. We know even if there's different IP addresses, it's the same person who has first visited us, has got some information, comes back later and is interested in more information, and maybe once in a while is really trying to immatriculate at our university. So that's what cookies are good for, to connect all these different pieces of information, these puzzle pieces, and bring them together to form one picture. And finally, we are cooperating with a professional tracking company which installs tracking pixels at our pages. So what benefit do we have from these? The thing is, actually we can only analyze the data we get from our own web server. So if you, for example, trying to get some information about universities at Google, at Wikipedia, at Facebook, at YouTube, at Instagram, we have no idea what you're doing there because it's not our server and we can't get hold of these data. Now these professional tracking companies, they install what it's called tracking pixels on all of these sites. They have contracts with these companies. They might have contracts with us as well. And by that, they are able to not only follow what's happening on their own server, but on each of these other servers. Once again, it's explained in more detail in this mechanism is explained in more detail in the slides and in the lecture. And if you would like now to get all this information into touch points and customer journeys, so what do we achieve by that? So let's first start with some touch points. So here we see some digital touch points which are on our web server, and it's one IP address. And later you show up with another session, but it's other IP addresses and we can't combine it. Now, having cookies, we are able to connect these sessions and all the other sessions which do belong to the same cookie. Yeah, so cookies make us give us the ability to bring together all these different sessions. Now, this is our own server, and we can't observe all these digital touch points outside our web server. Now, having these tracking pixels and having a contract with this tracking company, we are able to get this kind of information as well and create an even longer customer journey, bring it together and get more information about you. So once again, analyzing digital touch points helps us to understand who's coming. Having cookies allows us to identify if certain people come back, so to combine these sessions. And having these tracking pixels allows us to get information which is recorded outside of our web server.